So on the way here, we were talking about how learning has changed completely. So you can't really do anything in this world without learning a skill or developing yourself in some way. You can't even get a job, you can't fill a form, you can't do anything. And how we were talking earlier how learning completely changed, especially in the last 15 years. And people even are asking the question, should we even go to school? Should we even go to university? Because universities are teaching us stuff that might not be relevant. Now you've taught in universities. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you know, your question reminds me of Marshall McLuhan's saying that media is the message. So the way we teach is determining the results of the teaching. So if we learn in an environment that is not conducive to learning, then we may not get the good results.
Right.
And what worked yesterday may not work today because the world has changed.
Yeah.
So we need to change the way we teach. We need to change the way we learn. We learned a lot of new things about how we learn.
Yeah.
It's not just intellectual learning, you know. You learn by doing things. You learn by engaging in groups.
It's also where do you go to learn?
It's true.
It seems that young people today are learning more from YouTube, Google and online platforms than they would do by going to a university.
Absolutely. But what they get there is information and skills.
Yeah.
What they don't get there is a personal touch, which was the traditional strength in education.
Right, but they could counteract with that and say, okay, so when I go on YouTube, say I want to learn how to play guitar, I go and I watch 5 different teachers who have different methods, and they're going to pick the one that they like. So it's personal on that level, except it's a one-way street, isn't it?
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
You know, young people, as I was saying, they can go on YouTube and say they want to learn guitar, as I was saying, and they can pick several people. Maybe they're good at it. Maybe there's something about their personality that they like. Often that's the choice.
Yeah, true.
And they can start learning. They can interact with the teacher. They can put comments, and the teacher can answer comments. Often, you go to learn something on YouTube, you actually learn quite a lot from the comments and the interaction there.
Sure, and there's a lot of relationship building.
Yeah. But it's a different kind of relationship.
Yeah, it's true.
It's not face to face. It's not face to face, but it has a lot of power because the student can actually choose the teacher according to what they like, according to the rapport of the personality, and interact and get something, and they can scroll back. If they didn't get something, they just scroll back.
Which you can't do in normal school.
No, in a lecture, that's it, it's gone.
Yeah,
right?
Especially if it's a lecture, which probably is the least helpful method of teaching these days.
Well, and probably YouTube is kind of filling in that gap immediately to say, okay, we've got a better way.
Yeah.
Because there's a wisdom of the crowd that goes, we will go with the method that actually works for us. So what's missing in that? Because there is a bit missing, isn't it? There's a relationship bit that is kind of a one-way street, although you can comment to a YouTube clip, you can ask questions and you can get an answer, but there's a relationship bit that is missing.
Yeah, we are corporeal beings, and And this is what's missing there, you know.
Right.
It's like two artificial realities interacting. The personal touch, the corporeal dimension, the what psychologists call the mirror neurons and the way they work in proximity is very different from what happens in the virtual world.
Right.
So that's totally missing in this kind of interaction.
Okay. And this is not new. This is not a new problem. I mean, learning has been around for thousands of years, and universities have been around for thousands of years, but it's not always been a formal way.
Yeah.
And in a way, what we're seeing now with YouTube is almost like going back to an informal, relational way of learning. Of course, this virtual relationship, but it is kind of one-to-one kind of thing, although it's virtual, but it's not formal.
Yeah.
You don't have to enroll a course.
Yeah.
And it's freely available. You don't have to pay for it. It doesn't really cost you anything, except for time and commitment to actually watch and interact with the material. So, are we losing something with that kind of free access?
Yeah, I think what we are losing in this, may I call it democratization of learning or education, is that true lasting learning comes when there is a price involved.
Why? Why do I have to pay a price? Why can't it be free and available to everyone? So you said it has to cost something. And I tend to agree with you, but I'm going, how do I justify that?
I'm not talking about material price or financial price.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the price of effort. You know, I mean, if you want to play violin, there's no way to avoid the pain of doing the scales and learning the technique.
Right.
And you have to do it and do it and do it. And if you look at it from outside, it's kind of pointless. It's painful. It doesn't bring a lot of satisfaction.
Right.
The true satisfaction and the true talent expressed comes after tens and hundreds and thousands of hours of exercise.
Right. Yeah.
That's unavoidable, I think, in true learning, in true lasting learning. Because you can learn something very quickly, but to master it long term, you have to put a lot of time and energy into it and to continue doing it.
Yeah. Okay, we stopped a little bit by the lake, and you'll soon find out why we did that. But more on this issue of effort. You know, you can watch a virtual teacher that tells you how to work, how to practice something, how to work at it. But the problem with that is really, how do you know you're doing it right?
There's no feedback.
There's no feedback. So there's that missing. And often, because I've been in 3 different universities or university settings, and that's a common problem there as well. How do I know when I'm doing it right? My daughter as well has that same problem. Am I doing this right? How do I know? So that's where the personal relationship becomes paramount. Like, without that, you don't know. Are you on the right track? Are you doing the right thing? You don't know.
You see, when you see a clip on YouTube, there's no way that the teacher can tailor his or her teaching to you as a person.
Unless you send them a video of yours and they're willing to look at it and
engage,
say, okay, you're doing it wrong here,
but
or whatever.
But that's outside of the proper YouTube. I mean, it's a continuation, it's a follow-up of that, which is very possible and desirable, I would say. You know. But often in a university setting, in a classic educational environment, that doesn't happen either. Because you get a talking head who downloads stuff on you
Yeah.
And then he or she goes away. There's no personal interaction,
Yeah.
and there's no tailoring. It's like throwing a bucket of milk over 100 heads. It's going to be wasted, most of it, and
Yeah.
very little is going to suit you.
Right, so there's something missing there as well.
Absolutely.
So we've got the current educational model, academic model, that isn't working. We've got the liberalized access to information on YouTube, and if you don't know it, Google it, right?
Yeah.
There's something missing in there. So we need to go maybe somewhere else. Is there another way of doing it? And maybe that's why we're here by the water. And another reason we're by the water is because we're both theologians, and we get our models and information from the Bible. And actually, the church is looking at Matthew this Sunday about Jesus selecting 4 of his first disciples, right? And it happens by the water, by the Sea of Galilee. So what's happening there? How does teaching start? Because we're really looking at the start of teaching.
Yeah.
But it's a completely different model of teaching to the academic and the kind of liberal access to information. How is it different?
Yeah, I think what the story in the gospel brings in the picture is something we didn't talk about up to now, which
Okay.
is motivation.
Right.
How do you get into the teaching process has a lot to do with what kind of commitment, conviction, interest you have
Yeah.
as a learner.
Right.
And if there is somebody out there who can meet that kind of desire
Right.
or interest in you.
And that's what this model of apprenticeship, because that's what we're looking at. Jesus was really selecting apprentices. But it's a kind of upside down thing where it's not the apprentice looking for a master, but it's the master going around, yeah, you two come with me, you two come with me.
Yeah, what we don't have in this story is the prelude of the story.
Right.
Where,
Which was last Sunday, actually, in John. Yeah.
Where the disciples came themselves to him and said, Master, we see you have something to offer. We'd be interested. Will you take us?
Yeah.
And after about a year, the things are reversed.
Right.
And Jesus, who saw their interest there, is sort of responding to that and inviting them to a level of engagement that they did not have up to that point.
Right.
Which is essential, again, in the process of formation. We talked about motivation, we talked about the desire to learn, but then commitment, without which,
That's the response. It might be strange for us, like if we're reading the story, from 2,000 years ago with today's eyes, it's very odd. I mean, if you just read the passage, Jesus goes by the sign. He sees Simon Peter and Andrew. They're casting their nets, and he said, "Hey, you two, I'll come with me. Come follow me, right? And I will teach you to be fishers of men." And we're told that they left the nets immediately and went.
Their father with them.
Yeah, and again, John and James, the sons of Zebedee, they do exactly the same thing. Just immediately, there's no conversation. There's no, hold on. What does this mean?
Yeah. How long?
How long? Yeah. What's the commitment? No, they just left.
Yeah.
And just that
Right away.
seems very odd for today. Like we don't have an experience of that.
No, it's true. And when we read an ancient text like that, we have to go through a process of contextualization.
Yeah.
We have to translate. We are not called to reproduce. That's impossible to do. That
No.
time doesn't exist. It wasn't an ideal time
Right.
either.
No, it wasn't great.
You have an educational model that is used in that particular time, and then we have to learn the principles and see what applies to today.
Yeah. But what I like about it is that it's such a different model, and it brings the motivation in, and it brings the relationship is so dramatic. Like you left your family, you left your job, you left your reality, and you went and followed this master, this teacher around for years.
Yeah.
That's quite a commitment.
It is, and this is how stories work,
Yeah.
I mean, stories invite us, first of all, to take a different perspective.
Yeah.
They destabilize us. You cannot learn if you're not aware that you're foolish. You don't know.
That you don't know, yeah. If you're not aware of your ignorance.
And then if you accept your ignorance and say, okay, I'm okay like that, ignorance is bliss. Oh, so what the heck, I don't need that thing.
Yeah.
But you're aware you don't know and you want to know. Then you have the motivation.
That's the motivation.
So you need to be destabilized. You need to realize where you are, and then it gives you a solution.
So it's like you need to be in a kind of crisis point?
Yeah, absolutely. Education requires this kind of thing. You have to admit you don't know.
Right.
And most people today, they think they know it all.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's why there's
That's
so
why
little
they're not
teaching.
learning. Yeah. Okay. So learning starts with the crisis point of knowing you don't know. If you think you know, you're not going to learn anything.
Absolutely.
Right? So here we have a situation where a master who knew a lot of stuff, he impressed a lot of people, had a reputation.
They wanted.
They knew him. He had a reputation as rabbi. They referred to him as rabbi like a year ago, a year before, not a year ago, a year before. And so they knew. So they respond positively to his call to come, to leave everything.
Yes.
Now, why did the teacher not set up a school in Capernaum where they were, but say, no, you come, you leave everything, and you come with me. You move out of your comfort zone, out of what you know, and go on a journey. Why did he do that?
Yeah, there may be at least two reasons for this. First, there is a tradition in antiquity of peripatetic learning. You learn by walking.
What we're doing now?
What we're doing now.
Yeah.
So this is a model.
That's we're not sitting in a study right now. We're behind the table.
But secondly, in order to be able to learn, you need to get out of the familiar environment in which you are.
Well, why?
Because that will give you a more realistic perspective of what you know or don't know and of your needs.
Right. It will reveal to you your blind spots and
absolutely.
Yeah, your inabilities.
And it will confront you with things you're totally unaware of, which in fact hamper your own development.
Right.
But you don't know because you've never been confronted with those things in your own environment.
Yeah. Okay. So they're taken out of their environment.
Context.
Like Peter was married.
Wow.
Right. He had to leave his family. We don't know if he had kids.
Yeah. Or if his wife agreed.
Yeah, he doesn't even ask her.
Yeah.
There was no conversation.
Lord,
listen, dear.
have mercy on Peter.
Listen, dear. Okay, the master told me come with, so I've got to go.
Yeah.
No,
she
there
would
was
say,
no.
To hell with the master. Go and
me,
take the garbage.
No, so there was none of that
Nothing
stuff.
of that.
He just leaves it. There's no consultation. There's no consultation on Peter's part. They just go. And isn't it that this movement, this leaving behind, also includes the high price that you have to pay for actual learning, for growing?
Absolutely.
There's a high price to pay.
Absolutely.
The status quo is gone. If you want to maintain the status quo, there's no learning, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. But the higher the price, the better the benefit.
Yeah. So they're willing to pay the price. Peter's willing to scandalize his family.
Yeah.
Right? And start on this, and the journey of learning begins. And maybe we'll do another discussion about how that learning actually happens. All the expectations they had about how it's going to turn out and how it actually turned out.
And a lot of surprises.
A lot of surprises along
on the way.
Definitely. That's very good. I remember when I was a teenager, and one of your friends, who then I borrowed and made him my friend, our friend Daniel Manastireanu from Chicago. I remember he said something to me that stayed with me for a long time. He said, if you find somebody who knows how to do something, stick yourself to them and beg them to teach you what they know. You'll never know when you're going to use that information. You never know when you're going to use that and it doesn't matter what it is. So his view was, don't look for a teacher to show you what you want to know. It's like if you come across somebody who's good at something, go, boom, I want that.
Yeah.
Attach to him and learn, beg him or her to teach you how it's done.
I think what's behind this wisdom saying, may we call it that?
Yes, Daniel.
Is that learning how to learn is more important than even what you learn.
Right.
And maybe the purpose of formation, of education, of learning should be how to learn,
Right.
rather than how to learn something.
Right. It's the learning process itself.
Yes.
That's fabulous.
And often
Yeah.
that is learned best
Yeah.
from somebody who knows
Who actually knows what they're doing.
not the thing, but how to do it and how to incorporate that in one's life,
Totally. Yeah.
which we call it wisdom.
Yeah. Well, wisdom is a whole other thing, isn't it? to talk about. Yeah. Okay, so we'll get back to how the learning actually unfolded, but I think we need to leave on with a question about how this ancient model of learning can be applied today in today's context, which is, in some ways is similar to the ancient context in terms of plurality.
Yes.
There's no single religion that rules over all religion. The Roman world was very liberal when it came to that kind of stuff. So there's connecting points. The hunger for personal, we can see it today, although that's counteracted by social anxiety. We don't actually know, do we?
Yeah.
We don't know, how do we apply that personal model? How do we get to the crisis point? How do we face our ignorance when there's so much shame in it? Like, if you don't know something, you're going to experience guilt and shame. It's like, oh, and then I'm going to kind of avoid even going there.
Or pretend that it's not there.
So then how do we create that bridge between the ancient world and what seemed to work as a learning model? It's almost like we need to learn how to learn again.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we only began to scratch the surface of the new environment and the new approach to learning, because, of course, the ancient text that we have discussed 2,000
Matthew.
years ago, the world is way gone, and this new world is only beginning.
Yeah.
The speed of change in the world today is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. What worked 5 years ago doesn't work today.
Yeah, and how do you learn in this rapid change? We have to learn how to learn in a rapidly changing world.
Yeah.
And nobody can teach us that, because this kind of world never existed.
Right.
So I think we need to look around and see who are the people who seem to function effectively in this kind of world.
Yeah.
And try to engage with this kind of people.
Yeah. Where are we gonna find these people, though? I think that we need to learn that too.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And be open to discussion. Be open to be shown that what we think we know, we actually don't know.
This is an area where we need criteria.
Yeah.
Because, you do a Google search and you end up with a huge amount of information.
Yeah.
Imagine what amount of information have the big data companies to deal with.
And the algorithms to kind of make sense of it all.
Absolutely. Mind-boggling. Now, how do you decide what's important?
Yeah.
What is a priority? What is essential? What's true and false?
Yeah.
All these are amazing questions we need to face.
Yeah.
So how do you answer the question? You need to have very clear criteria on how to choose, on what is most important for you.
Yeah.
And what is most important for you may be very different from what is most important for me.
Yeah.
And then you bring society, what was important for you or for me
Yeah.
will have as an impact on society. Things become very complicated, and we don't know the answers to many of these questions.
And maybe that's actually the crisis point.
No, it's very good.
Yeah, so we're at a crisis point, and that's good news.
With this
That's
kind
where
of
learning starts.
intellectual and existential humility,
Yeah.
it's a good place to start the educational learning process.
Cool. That's good. At least we know something.
Yeah.
At least we know we don't know. That's a good place to start. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.